Okay, let's get into things. Where we at? 19th of November. And where we are? 7 past 11. So start off with DXY because we got that crack yesterday. So this is what we were calling. Well, I was calling on the weekend. It had this nice sort of little bit of a, you can see this blue sort of little bit of a channel sort of forming here, been respecting it quite well. Obviously, sort of like through yesterday, it was just grind, fake down, fake down. And this is what I say about DXY, and this is why it's important sometimes to trade these sort of things over and over again because you start to pick up the sort of the little nuances and the little ways that these things work. So you know, this is not saying that DXY, okay, bang, break the channel, yes, we're coming down. Like, I mean, is as I just said, sort of like knowing DXY, this could very much just go up like this and then back down, or up like this and then just back into a range up along the top side over here for a bit. Um, so it's certainly not out of the woods uh, so far, but it is the start of, as we can see, a little bit of a cooling. If we sort of have a look through the session as well, so this is what we were saying, like, I mean, just recapping last couple on Thursday, we were saying bang, down to this area, expected to bounce. We got this. The couple, yeah, I'll put on this other chart because this one's a bit cleaner, and I put some notations on this one as well. Um, these are the parts that I was paying attention to. Well, a couple of things here. One was, Joe Powell's comments that just came out of nowhere saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not in any rush to lower the rates and that." And market said, "Yeah, that's great." Bang, 2 seconds. The bigger part of the market, as you can see, just said, "Well, that's great. Yeah, pump it up, mate. Bang, we'll sell into it." Poof, down like this. Retail sales, strong data to finish the week off. Bang, market. That's great. Let's sell into it. Do. And as you can see, each one of these very nicely lining up with this sort of like falling resistance. And this also provided as that last little kick last night. And as I was sort of saying to a mate, as we were sort of trading through this period, we saw this a bit move off here. And if you put it on the 4 hour, um, is it on this one? How is it? Don't know. Some of these things, depending on, yeah, so you can see the 4 hours a little bit different on these two here. But it was this candle here that sort of moved up, and it just didn't have that. It didn't even have a bottom wick. And 99% of the time when you have these sort of moves that sort of open up and just go bang, particularly when it's inverse to the sort of current direction, and the current direction, in the immediate, obviously pre the sort of the candle prior to it, very much bang selling down, as you can see, breaking these levels. And if you have a look on the 1 hour as well, it was this move here, as you can see, no bottom candle. It's bottom candle, yeah, no bottom wick on the candle. Dragging along here, this is very quiet through Asia yesterday. Bang, that's a breakdown. All of a sudden, no, let's go straight back up. These are good indicators. When they don't have those bottom wicks, they're generally going to get that put in. As you can see, came up here, respected that sort of falling resistance, 2 touches of it, and then bang, and that's what gave us that nice little sort of push down into the end there. So broke through this horizontal, broke through Friday, which is also, I think, weekly low for last week, was it? No, what am I talking about? Weekly low, daily low, it must have been. Yeah, so it broke through those daily lows there. So you can see this as a bit of a daily. I mean, look, take it into context. Look at where we are. It's still extremely bullish. But the thing is, you do have a little bit of this channel. We're coming into a high time zone. We're at high time zone resistance. We broke the channel. We're taking out the previous week lows. It is overbought. So there is a chance that we sort of see this a little roll over a little bit. But you got to remember that this is still very bullish. Till you sort of getting back down under these levels over here, which is the election area, which is where we left that gap. Pop it back onto this one. Where we at here? So flipping back and forth between these things. Till we get back underneath these election lows and close this gap over here, it's still considered quite bullish. I mean, if you look at this, this is obviously a cleaned up chart, but this is from uh, the 50 base point cut, which I've covered a number of times. So the 50 base point cut, I think, was this candle just here, or maybe this one here, or something like this. But it was minuscule in the scheme of things when you consider the move pricing it in. Can't see me doing little finger quotation marks there. But So yeah, look, it's still very much bullish. It's broken this little trend. It is respecting this little down channel here. So this is the thing that sort of makes me think, look, definitely we're not out of the woods yet. So if we're looking at this here, look, most likely when you've got a move coming like this, you're not going to see automatic sort of capitulation kind of thing. Generally, it has a couple of tries and gives other little early indicators. So what we might sort of see potentially is a bit of a rally effort up here, a retest of the underneath of the horizontal here, and then a move back down. I've said this a few times and then it's gone like this. So just keep in mind anything really is possible at the moment. They absolutely love buying DXY and turning it around is an absolute monster of an effort. But in the short term, this little area here, we've got a couple of things that have sort of broken through. This is on the 4 hour. We can see it's quite heavily oversold already. So that does sort of warrant a little bit of a bounce. It is starting to respect this, really sort of shore up this sort of short-term channel. Whoop, direction, this one here, as we can see, 1, 2, and obviously coming into rest there overnight, and coming up the other side here as well. So, yeah, I mean, a number of touches through here. I mean, you can't barely even count how many, whatever. That's the kind of move there. So look, this is obviously a channel we are looking for. So top side targets, which in this case, if you are looking to sort of short US dollars, these are the areas where you'd kind of look to sort of be hitting it from. Either a test of the underside here or another test of this falling resistance here. They're your two areas where you could see potential sort of continuation of this move moving down. If it does decide to come back up, retest the underside here and come through, if it comes through this little falling resistance, well, that could spell big, big moves. I don't think that's the case, but I mean, in theory, that's your kind of price target there, 109. If that were to be the case. I don't think it will be. I mean, if anything, you might sort of see maybe a drift back down to this lower support through here and then a move back up. But I don't think it's going to turn on a dime like this. We'll have to sort of wait and see. And I'm trying not to sort of just hedge my bets and go, hey, look, you know what, anything can happen. But realistically, you got to remember, you're fighting a big trend here. And US dollars, or DXY particularly, is not a trend that, one, you want to stand in front of, and two, it's not an easy one to shake. It once it gets going, it really gets going, and to turn it around, as I've covered a number of times, it takes a lot. So look, this is my little sort of plan of attack today. See if we can see some resistance come in off a little bit of a pump. We'll have to sort of wait till see how it opens up. But if we get a little bit of a pop up over here, I'm going to be looking for some rejections around these areas here to then sort of add to my positions to sort of see how we go. So we saw metals obviously come back to life. Aussie had a very, very steep push off the lows. So yeah, let's just see if this is sort of short covering or if this is something a little bit more. We do actually have a bit of Aussie data out in a few moments. I think the minutes are coming out, aren't they? Oop, let me just fix this one up here. So 19th, yeah, so we got the minutes coming out in a few minutes, kind of thing, in 14 minutes actually. So we'll see how this one sort of reacts with the Aussie, see how sort of potentially dovish they were, or if they're still sort of holding on to that sort of sort of more hawkish kind of outlook in that. I mean, she certainly talks, a bullock certainly talks the talk, a lot more than sort of Low ever did, but it's obviously not entirely there. It's the whole sort of board decision. So we'll sort of see that happens. But as I've said a couple of times, look, Aussie is really just the tail that gets wagged by US dollar. So, we can have some sort of hawkish sort of stuff, but if they buy US dollar, we'll be at the mercy of that. But it does work the other way around as well. Even if we are a little bit more on the dovish side, it's not going to sort of bode us well for bigger moves, of course. But if they sell off the US dollar, we are still of the two the more hawkish, even if we do have a slightly dovish turn. So that could be positive for the Aussie there as well. But yeah, that's a potential sort of outlook. I'm not really looking at this at this stage, so I'm going to take this one out of here, take this one out of here, keep it a little bit cleaner. And then sort of just see if we can see a bit of a continuation down here. So I've sort of said if we do move up here, and obviously if we break out here and move up that side, well, okay, boom, that negates this and breaks on a little bit higher. If it does happen to break this sort of falling resistance there, we could see a faster move, I would say. And I'd be looking for sort of some reaction around this rising support. It's not a true rising support, only for the fact that it only matches up with the top side here. As you can see, it kind of negated it a little bit. It broke through here. I disregard this little part here because this was prior to so fixing the headphone there. That was prior to the election where they were like, hey, you know what? Whatever her name is, Camilla, she might actually be a shot, which we obviously know was just a load of garbage. And again, feeds into my tinfoil hat thing where you can't believe these headlines. They're just too perfectly timed, in my opinion, some of these things. But as you can see, it does respect it. A little bit bounced here, resistance here, obviously held a little bit of support sort of through here. So this would be an area which I'd be looking to sort of see what happens. If you do break this, well, then we're looking at horizontals, which would take you across to, say, this area down here, 105.40. And it's a bit iffy here because you've got top side over here, but obviously broke down underneath here. So I'm going to go with the most recent. I'm going to go so through there. They're the levels that I'll be looking for downside moves. We've got a zone. Make this one a zone. So the way you would use these, if we do happen to sort of get through this rising support here, would be a breakdown, support, previous highs, bounce, rejection, second attempt down there. That would be your confirmation moving down through that zone there. So yeah, look, we are seeing it sort of come off the boil a little bit. Long way to go, but certainly the other markets are respecting it as well. So speaking of the other markets, got gold, and this is one that we sort of plan for the weekend. So this is a little idea that we had. Move this one here. All right, that's our direction. Moving up through here. So this is the first target that we had yesterday, well, over the weekend. And this is based off the idea, again, on the 4 hour, we had this nice negative divergence. Love a good negative divergence. And we got the pop. Obviously got a bit of a pop on the Friday. So I had a decent position here, and I tried to be the superstar and hold, which is not my style, and I got stopped out for a small loss, which is very, very frustrating. But back into it yesterday. I bought this break, wherever it was, I think around the 70s or so. A quick little $20 move up to the top side, took profit, back down here, back in, caught this move up through here. So yeah, definitely sort of made up for it all. So if we look at where we're at now, first layer of sellers, first layer to get through is obviously this kind of little bit of a channel it was trying to sort of form. We've seen it negate this. We've seen it sort of come through here, hit and reacted exactly where we sort of thought it should. It's funny actually because, as I said, I sort of thought, look, get back into the style. My style is in and out, as you probably know. Got the pop, $20 move. It's been a while since we've had a good $20 pop on gold. And if we have a look, just to show this on the short term, this break here, that's where I bought. It's right on that break. That candle straight up here, 76, 94. Actually, we got up to 97. I didn't take it up to 97. I got it around 90 or so. But yeah, took the profit there. Back over here, caught it. Actually got stopped out once and I trying to catch this bit, but then got back in and caught the second move up through here, which was good. Good for me anyway. But it's the thing that I said, look, after we got that first pop, I'm like, look, I'm taking profit and getting back to my style here. At best, it's just going to consolidate. And 4 hour, if you chuck it on the 1 hour, you can see that's exactly what it did. It just stuffed around like this here. So we're through this falling resistance here. So if you think about it, sort of like, okay, this is how the structure will work. And you've got your sellers over here. We've done this a number of times just to emphasize the point. Actually, do I have it? Sells. I've had buyers, sellers, no. It's riveting. Anyway, whatever. Sells, sells. Yes, come on, sells. So you can see the sellers, bang, moving down, moving down, moving down, bang. They've given up. Not given up, but they've relinquished. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves saying they've given up. This very much has to have, as I've said, it's got to have this leg. So there's no point getting too sort of pumped about it all because, albeit this is a nice little push up to the top side here, it will have this leg at some stage to really sort of confirm this bottom. You need to sort of do, as you can see here, on this is on the 1 hour, you got a low, up, push back down. This gave us a higher low and another little higher low, and then it turned around. You're going to see the same thing on the higher time frames as well. Whereas we've got this little push up through here, that's fine, we're breaking through. We're going to look, where are we going to see? Are we going to see these horizontals hold it in line? I'm thinking more something along these lines here, because as I've got it marked out here, you got a previous bounce from that big drop down here, and that was the big swing point. This is going to be a bit, because you know what I mean, I caught this move back up through here. So there's going to be a lot of people that sort of tried to buy this, or maybe tried to buy it for a double bottom and that, and if they get a chance to get out for zero, they're going to go take it. It just happens to line up perfectly with where the sellers would be if they're trading off this line over here. So they went off on a bit of a tangent. They went off a little bit of a sort of crazy free-for-all, super fast sell down. That's fine. They'll let it come back up over here. We look around the 44s, and then they look to sort of sell that down again. If you break this, well, you know, then we've got another discussion to have, and you know, you're looking at you sort of maybe the 70s, or maybe even back up to 2700. You know, we deal with that when we get there. It's a little bit overbought on the 4 hour. Again, this could probably line up with a little bit of US dollar strength early in the session. Maybe we get a little bit of a push back down over here. I think if we get a sort of a push back down, maybe to this little short-term trend, so it could be a little bit of a channel. I'm not super fan of this. I'll leave it there just for now to sort of see how it goes through the session. But if we get a little bit of a push down here, because remember, there's a lot of people sort of going, like this is very heavily in a big sell, and we broke some very key levels. The fact that it's sort of back up here, that's good. But remember, this leg is coming, and this is just where I'm sort of thinking, well, what am I doing here? This is just where I've sort of said it's coming. This could be it here. We could be sort of getting ready for the next drive down just from this point here. So, you know, there's no guarantee on any of these sort of levels that these are the ones that are going to hold. As I said, I think we could see a little bit of a bounce with the what's it called, with the US dollar. This is going to weigh on the metals a little bit. It's going to get everybody very much, oh, yep, sweet, that's it, that's the bounce, here we go. This could be just a thing to build up a bit of liquidity. We're coming into a bit of a resistance, a horizontal resistance through here. We've completed this body fill of this larger drop down over here. You know, next body fills really up around that 66 level, but a bit of a cool off down here. If we are to sort of be moving higher, if this is to sort of come down like this and then sort of move up like that, what they'd be doing is sort of dragging more people into the shorts, because they'd be going, yep, bang, here we go, let's short it all the, let's short it all the way back down here. They'll be putting their stops around the bounce highs, which is obviously still this horizontal area over here as well. This will be able to feed it should this play out. Should it come back down here and then start to move up, it's going to squeeze those shorts. The people that have sort of been shorted through here and we've got their stops over here, add a little bit more liquidity to it, put their stops here, that'll feed it and then move back up to over here. So I do think, look, personally, I think we probably do have a little bit more upside to go. At least with this bounce, even if it is to sort of come back down to the lows. But I would say in the short term, maybe a little bit of a cooling through the session, just to sort of like get those people sort of like really pumped up to the idea that, you know, we're going to be sort of going down a little bit lower again, and let them sort of like add some liquidity and some short stops above that stuff there as well. I'll just flip across quickly while we do this as well, because this is the gold silver ratio, and this is the one that's going to get us there. If we're going to get a pump, this is it. And this is where I've been sort of covering this one. I mean, I always cover it, but you know, we had the big sort of negative divergence through the top over here, and this goes to show that, as I said, with negative divergence, you don't need strict this. like one here, that one there. This we did have, obviously, as you can see, this part here is the technical negative divergence. But even as it is, it's going sideways. But this was a big tell as the buying pressure to get it back to that same level was coming in lower and lower. Less conviction each time that they're trying to push it up. Yes, they didn't make an actual sort of high to give it your textbook negative divergence, but it was certainly pushing up to those highs off lower buying pressure, which then obviously gave it up. We've seen a little rising support through here, break, horizontal held, retest, bang, break again. Next rising support, bang, broke. This is what we were looking for last week. A push down to these levels here, which is obviously this horizontal. And this is why you need, like a lot of people, not a lot, but some people sort of, they only trade one or the other. They'll trade horizontals, they'll trade things, but it needs to have a combination because so many participants in each market and not all markets move the same. But obviously this horizontal area, we've seen it, that gave him another shot here. This bounce came a little bit higher than I had sort of like drawn in, but I mean, end of the day, it's not an exact science for it all. The general sort of idea is that we could expect a bounce through this area, up through here. Now we've got a very nice ledge. So obviously, sort of with this, as it's moving down, that's good for gold. Moving up, not so good for the metals, gold and silver. But if we see this take out this horizontal here, it's a nice little move down to where we could next expect probably a little bit of a reaction, which is down here, which is this previous area was resistance after that big sell down. Remember, this is where gold was sort of going to its all-time highs. It's really pumping along. And this whole area through here, it's just been getting hammered and pulled back. So if we can start to move back down towards these lines over here, well, we can start to sort of see a little bit more of a recovery and run in gold. So this is what I'm looking for, this alert that I've got set up down under here. Once this triggers, I'm going to say, okay, let's have a look at where gold is. Let's have a look at sort of where silver is, and let's see if we can sort of really sort of tackle part of that move. So 2 seconds. Just got that data coming out. Back in 2 seconds. All right, back. Didn't really seem to have too much of a reaction with it all. So we'll give it a few minutes as that sort of pumps through. Obviously, 12 o'clock is probably going to be no idea when we see a bit more move. So anyway, look, this is obviously sort of kind of rolling over a little bit here with the RSI still sort of getting knocked down at 50. If this does drop through here, as I said, look for where gold is, look for where silver is, and then try and sort of find some levels that we can sort of trade off with that there. Pump across because we've got silver. Silver, this is a great sort of trade through this area. And again, look, this is the idea that potentially we are going to see this move back down. Is it going to come like this? It's going to come like this. But in terms of a structural trade with this, negative divergence into the lows, into the buy zone. The buy zone's obviously these previous little areas here where we're seeing resistance. We've seen it as support. Like that's the thing, support, resistance, same thing. Into that little buy area down here. The main one I was looking at is this triangle. So with this triangle here, we've got a break, we've got a retest, and then subsequent high. So we're coming into an area, if we get these out of the way, where I've been mentioning the last week or so, that this is the area you kind of want to see price get above. And you want to see it sort of hold above here. Obviously, it's sort of stuttering a little bit. Quiet time of the day, that's fine. But you want to see a continued move through this area. 2 seconds. Okay, back. Yeah, so look, we've had the break, the retest, we'll push forward. This gives us quite a decent sort of little measure move price target based off the idea of the size of the wedge over here. If we sort of drag this across, we can see through this area here from this sort of little breakout point. I mean, this is a bit iffy with it all. I mean, where you actually want to do it close enough, good enough kind of thing with it all. But this is the area that we're probably looking for. So up around. Yeah. Got a violent red color. Let's pull price target, bang, over here. So look, that does give us a measured move, price target, should this thing continue to pump up through here. If we look at it in the more immediate, obviously, a little bit of a sort of hanging man on this 4 hour, it is up above this area. You'd want to hold this area through here because we can see, obviously here is where we are, boom. So was support here, has been resistance. You want to honor that again to be support. So this is kind of the area that you really want to see it hold. Look, you give it a couple of cents either way, but above 30.87, the sort of like low over here, I wouldn't take this one necessarily, but above 30.87, that's the area in which I'd want to see silver hold. If we do see the gold silver ratio break down, as I said, that's going to be what's going to lead to this next leg to sort of move, excuse me, move up through this area here. 4 hour, a little bit overbought, is twisting a little bit. Potentially, we could just see a little bit of a consolidation through this area here. But certainly, I'd want to sort of keep a top side of 30.80 just to be in this, sort of maintain this breakout sort of momentum. But certainly, this was a nice break and it was a beautiful move. And it goes to show that sort of like, should the DXY sell off, metals is certainly somewhere where the market is valuing some returns. Like as that sort of broke and came down, metals, bang, one-way trade with it all. So they are moving back to their typical sort of inverse relationship. If alternatively we see this slip and just move up straight through here, well, we're probably going to see a little bit of a faster move down on DXY as well, of course. So for the immediate, as I said, look, stay above this area here. Moving up here, you do have a bit of a resistance. So I think I don't expect this to just really take off and do this, move through here. I would probably be looking for a little bit of a consolidation. Take out the wick highs at 31.26. And then your next sort of move would probably be around this 31.54 area across those sort of wick highs. So something to this sort of effect, and then to be moving up like that. And this would sort of come in line with this sort of highs over here. So let's just put a very small sort of zone through here. This kind of move. All right, cool. Moving on. So where we go? Did we cover Aussie? No, Aussie pumped back to life. Very similar in the story here. It's obviously got the strong breakout. It really sort of was sort of coming into this lower area here. And again, this is another example of the negative divergence, which isn't actually a negative divergence, where we've got it sort of obviously pretty much maintaining and holding this flat through this zone here. While you can see the buying pressure certainly was absorbing it all. And come that sort of sell off with DXY, US dollar across the board, of course, Aussie, bang, very much a big recipient of that. And that was quite a solid move from actually from the lows of that move there, because it was really doing that one last little test down here, 47 up to 65.10. That's a 63 point move. We broke out the top side here. Look, if you'd want to see it hold these 90s levels, if this just comes straight back down here, yes, you could be seeing a little bit of a retest down in these areas, but again, you want to maintain that momentum while you've got your big break. This is what you want to see with a break as well. You don't want to see a dribble out to the side. Generally, when you see a dribble out to the side, I mean, off the top of my sort of thing, you can probably find a few of these sort of things here. I mean, at one point, this is probably an area. This is just a quick off the top example, but as you can see, if this was your sellers come down here, and it moved out through here, and it just sort of dribbles out, generally you're not seeing them look at this to react to this to go bang, let's move up and punch it out to the top side. So these are the kind of bottoms that you want to see. You want to see explosive moves from the base. You got your little horizontal here, 64.90s, you'd like to see it hold. If it doesn't, then really I'd say line in the sand is the 64.80, which we could see was a very strong resistance all the way through here. This needs to hold. Under 64.80, I think we're going to call this a fake breakout and then move back down, which is what we saw the other day. This one here is a smaller sort of time frame, but if we jump onto the 1 hour, this shows what happens when you see those moves. This was the little consolidation we had. This is news driven, broke to the top side, and then bang, slam down. So, a fake breakout is as good as a breakout because it's just coming in the other direction. And as you can see, there's the move back down here. So, look, a move back up is probably going to be capped up around these zones over here, around this sort of 63.36 in the immediate. But again, you just want to see if this is going to come back here, where's it going to find some support? If it finds some support around here, well, a high through last night's zone is what we want to see. Want to see it break this zone here. That's 65.10. Obviously looking a little bit weak down there. I did see there's a few bits and pieces on the data front here. Where we scroll down. So yeah, the comments are from the RBA. Considering factors potential change in the cash rate, extended period of stability. I did see a couple of bits just before. Yeah, policy restrictive until confident on CPI. I mean, it's nothing like shocker, wow, really they're looking at CPI, but it just reiterates that point of how important CPI is in RBA's decision making for when they're going to be bringing down the rates. Because I think a lot of people sort of try to sort of play to the sort of, I guess, the human side of it all and say, hey, everybody's doing it really tough. That's not what their job is. That's not what they're there to do. What they're there to do is get the inflation under control. Balance that, of course, with making sure that the whole economy doesn't go into recession. But people that overborrowed, despite if they sort of did it on the back of Lowe's stupid comments, that's not really their issue. And that's not what's going to drive it because it's kind of like, that's really I mean, that is Australia, pandering to a few, at the expense of everybody else. But in this case, in that, they're obviously really sort of, the board notes no immediate need for cash rate change. These are all hawkish comments. So it warns of significant decline in job market. Future data may necessitate easing. So again, reiterates, okay, these are the parts we're looking for. We're looking for the job numbers. They did come in very weak this month. I mean, it was very weak in the US, so maybe it's a seasonal sort of thing, but I mean, even though they're different seasons, but maybe a time of year kind of thing. I know the US had the Florida storms or whatever they had, but regardless of that, that's this is what they're kind of looking for. Okay, I'll be just scenarios. Yeah. So look, I mean, discuss the scenarios where policy may need to remain restrictive for longer or tighten further. These are hawkish comments. So again, look, if US dollar goes for another leg down, RBA, Aussie dollar, well, that's a very attractive sort of prospect because they're a hawkish central bank, which at the moment nobody else is. Anyway, so that's a bigger view with that there. Coming back into retest this support area at 65, just underneath 65 on that main number now. See if this can sort of do anything come 12 o'clock, see if we can see a little bit of a shakedown and a bounce. Pretty much back above 65.11 was what we'd be looking for the next leg up. And if that does, I mean, this could be a little bit of a sort of a, albeit not a perfect, but that's a very big flag. So I'm not fully committed to this because obviously, that's just a little bit of a wishy-wash kind of thing, but that certainly comes all the way back up through these areas. And look at this, it comes right back up into this other bigger zone as well. So look, I do think that we could potentially be seeing another leg of Aussie through here. But again, if we see that little sort of push up in DXY, which we're going to see coming online in a few minutes, so just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, seeing a little bit of a gap up potential coming on DXY. If we do see that little push up on DXY, obviously that's going to be bang because market loves to sell Aussie dollar. I'll see a little bit of a push down over here, but confirmation is going to be above 65.11. Flip across, we got China. China slowly breaking down. They said this is an interesting one as well. So that they said they're fixing yesterday a lot stronger. I think they said 300 points stronger than market expectation. So meaning their market expectation would have been up around here, 722. Fixing became 719. So look, it did stuff around. Obviously, it was from around here. It moved up first and then sort of came back down. But really, from just a straight structural point, forget the fixing for a moment. You've got your sort of wedge, your rising support. This is a retest of the underside, and it's rejected, come down, broken those lows. So obviously it didn't completely sort of melt down after that, but it is sort of moving more to a sort of rollover kind of shape. So if we pop this through here, see if this could potentially sort of line up with anything. Look, it does give us a little bit of a move through here. So again, look, whoop, one. This may be what we're looking at here, because as it comes into this zone, it's going to get a reaction. We know this. You can see it here, so we expect it to come in here. If we do get a little bit of a bounce off this area here, that's definitely still the line you want to beat underneath that 721. And then we're sort of going to start to sort of look down to these areas over here. And for this to break down and get through here without a more significant bounce back up to the top side here, you're going to see some little capitulation. I don't think that's about to come, but again, that's just how we'll sort of see it go. Look, as I said, China, when it moves, okay, yes, these are kind of the Trump trade, kind of sort of election trade stuff. But generally, this is what you see. Grind. And it gets in a direction and just grinds along. So I wouldn't be sort of jumping around too much for this one, just in the immediate. But I do think we have seen a medium-term top for this year to sort of potentially come back. Again, in context, it's still quite bullish. I mean, if we sort of look at it from down here, obviously, Wolf is definitely in that mode. So it's not like sort of, okay, yeah, we've hit bearish mode yet. I mean, really, you got to get back down about 710s and that to get that into a full bearish kind of position. But short term, it does look like it may sort of be coming back down at least to 721 and then sort of see what happens if it bounce from this area. I would expect a bounce from this area though. And copper. So copper is sort of keeping itself buoyant, trying to sort of fight back to get back above this zone over here. We did have that big breakout on Friday, and obviously afterwards just got slammed back down. But as you can see yesterday, look, market does like it. Market pushed it up a little bit. Happy to sort of see how far it's going to run. I do have a couple of positions on copper here. See if we can get a bit of a continuation. I'd like to see above Friday's highs, above sort of 420, to sort of see if we're going to see anything a little bit more significant. We got zone through here. So look, it is sort of slowly moving. We've got a couple of high lows, but again, you want to see a more significant, they call this a more significant high. If we put this on a daily here, they're the highs there. And as you can see, this is sort of very much a, almost sort of like a, again, if you invert these things, sometimes it's easier to see. This is sort of a hanging man. So it's a hanging man, but in the other direction. So it's just sucking out the last of the sellers. Obviously try to move up, bang sells there and buy. So that's great. Another chance for us to buy it, and it's pushed up. That's fine. Look, it's still very much in, I mean, overall, very much in a bearish kind of move. So this really is just a bit of a reprieve, but oversold, pushing up. I mean, as you can see, it came down 10% in 4 or 5 days. So even a little bit of a sort of bounce up through here. I've already got the fib set up on this one. Up around this 50% is probably where I'd be sort of targeting. Based off basically the fact that this is obviously a support area. It tried to hold it a second time. This is, where we go, price target here. That's where I'll be sort of targeting in the immediate. First thing is obviously get above that Friday high wick. I think once you open that up, 726.3 is probably where I would see sort of probably a bit of a reaction, because obviously this was that big bounce after the election before it got absolutely slammed down. And then we can sort of assess where things are going from there. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Actually, as I said, pretty quiet on the news front this week. That was about it for the Asia session, and for sure the sort of monetary minutes. So it's monetary policy minutes. Yep. So we got CAD CPI. Again, not really going to super affect us in that. It kind of affected DXY a little bit, but pretty flat on the numbers. I think sort of obviously sort of China is something to factor in at the moment. I think what's going on potentially with the BOJ needs to be taken into account as well. We did see a little bit of a strengthening of yen more recently. The governor, I can't remember his name, and that sort of this guy here, Ueda, sort of spoke yesterday, and that I don't think they were particularly in any super rush to sort of hike rates, and so we saw a little bit of a reversal of that sort of yen strength. through that period. So I think if they do step it up, again, that's going to be one of the things that's going to sort of start to weigh on DXY at these heights. Just have a quick look just now as well to see, quite opening yet. Just the US 10 through here, we can see that this is very much a very crucial area for it. Cash rate's at 450. It's up around here. These are 1, 2, 3 hits smacked up through here. It's on the higher time frame. You can see that it's tried to push up here a couple of times and it's getting slammed down each time. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe a little push up here and then maybe a bit more of a commitment to the downside here. If we see this course of action happening through probably say these lows over here, I'm going to move this down just a little bit. If we come through these lows over here, then I'd expect maybe a little bit further cooling, obviously weakening of US dollar. I'll sort of see how that one sort of plays out. All right, that's it from me.